thanking Tim, just as William has, and Mrs. Collington for their hospitality this afternoon. It's a fantastic turnout, and it's great to see so many people from far-flung parts of the country. I've just noticed Jack at the back, Jack Tyler, Suffolk. Hey. That's some way to come over. Well done, Jack. I've been asked to come along today to talk mainly about the rise of the party, which has taken place really since 2009. I remember back in 2008, in the dark days of UKIP really, when the party was more interested in fighting itself than fighting anybody else. As a political party, it wasn't really going anywhere. And we had many observers and many political commentators who were quite frankly writing the party off. They believed that we had done well in 2004, but it was a one-off and that the party would disappear, like so many political parties have done so in the past century. They burst onto the scene, they make an impact, and then quickly disappear. But I was heartened by a speech that Tim gave, and I've said this before, Tim, back in Bournemouth in 2008, and Tim quite perceptively said that, don't worry, UKIP's time will come when the Conservatives are in power. And what we're finding now is that he was absolutely right. Don't forget, this was a point in our history around September 2008 where there were a number of opinion polls where UKIP didn't register, which means that we were polling under 1%. If you look at the opinion polls this weekend, and 3 have come out this morning, you have Conres, which puts us on 18%, Opinion, which puts us on 19%, and Servation, which has us on 20%. This party has come a long way since those dark days in 2008. And why have we come to this point? Tim is absolutely correct. It's because you have a Conservative party in government, which isn't really a Conservative party at all, and is led by a man who most certainly is not a Conservative in the way I think of a Conservative. It's a party which seems more concerned with gay marriage and wind turbines than it does with the economy, immigration and crime. But I also think that the party has moved on in the opinion polls because we've moved from being a single issue pressure group, which many people believe that we were, into being a fully fledged political party. And I think Nigel has hit on something actually when he went on his common sense tour of Britain. Because quite frankly, that's what it's about, common sense. We want to be the party that is speaking the language of the people, speaking the language of the man and Paul on Friday night, people who know what's wrong with their communities. We want to be different than the Westminster set, people who are detached from reality and the trials and tribulations of the working man. You know, our policies are sound and common sense. We say that it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to have an open door policy to the whole of Eastern Europe when 22% of our own kids can't get a job. We think it doesn't make any sense to have a system whereby people can come to this country and from day one say they're self-employed and claim benefits without ever paying in to the system. And what we want is simple. It's not racist. We want a point system. A system like Canada. A system like Australia. If we need your skills, please come here on a visa. But what we don't want are people who will come here and claim from the state and put people out of work and undercut our own people without ever putting anything in. That's not racist, it's quite frankly common sense. Yeah. We say that it's common sense, that we want to see more police officers on the beat, not PCSOs, real police officers. We say that it's also common sense that we should withdraw from from the Human Rights Act. We should do away with the European Court of Human Rights. I mean, let's not forget what they've done in the past week alone. When they've said to this country, foreign judges, many of them don't even have qualifications in law, foreign judges have told us that life cannot mean life. We say that that is an absolute disgrace. This should be a decision which is taken by our own judges, not judges in a far-flung land. It should be a decision for this country. And quite frankly, when the death penalty was abolished, finally in 1969, it was done so on the proviso that life would mean life. And in UKIP, we don't want to see sentences cut in half. We don't want to see people who've committed a murder coming out with 13 years. Life should mean life, and that goes for people like Bamber and Huntley and Roy Whiting and people who kill children. They should not be allowed out, and we should ignore what the judges in Strasbourg are saying. And we have common sense policies on defence. We don't believe it makes any sense to have defence cuts at a time when the world is in a pretty dangerous state. You've only got to look at what's happened in Egypt in the past week, where a democratically elected president, and you might be like Morsi or the Muslim Brotherhood, I don't personally agree with what they've tried to do economically, and I certainly don't believe or like or agree with the Islamification of certain elements of the state. But he's been overthrown by a mob, by the army. And you've only got to look at what's going on in Syria. We should not be having defence cuts when Syria is in the midst of a civil war. And we certainly shouldn't be arming these so-called rebels, many of whom the CIA, our own secret service, the Iraqi government are telling us have links to Al-Qaeda. What we shouldn't be doing is funding, training or giving any money to jihadists. We should be spreading nothing. And where should we get this money from to stop the defence cuts? I believe it should come out of the foreign aid budget. A foreign aid budget which amounts to £25 million a day. That's your tax, which is going to countries like Brazil, which has just overtaken us in the league table of economic powers in this country. We've got defence cuts, yet we're giving money to Argentina, our old friend Argentina. We're giving money to India, which has more millionaires and billionaires than us. India with a space programme, India with nuclear weapons. Quite frankly, this is our taxation. Yes, when we've got money over, we should be able to give it to poor countries, particularly those in Africa, on the proviso that we know where that money is going. But what we shouldn't be doing, when the economy is on its knees, when unemployment is high, is be handing your taxation over to countries that don't need it, don't want it, like China. This is our money, it's our taxation, and it should be spent on our defence, on our schools, on our transport, and on our NHS. Of course, next year, we have the European elections. If you look at the opinion polls at the moment, as William said, the majority of people are now on our side. I said to you earlier, we're polling around 20%. That's if a general election was held tomorrow. The opinion polls for the European elections are somewhere nearer to 30%. We're projected to go on and win those European elections because we've taken the public with us. We've driven public opinion over the past 10 years on this issue. People now know that the majority of the laws of this country are not made by their elected representatives in Westminster. They are made by a European Commission that meets in secret with 3,000 working groups, probably made up of lobbyists, big business and multinationals. And these people are dictating what happens in this country. I'll give you a quick example if I'm okay for time. This week I sat in the Environment Committee. People might think this is a big issue, but it just goes to prove a point. And the Environment Committee in the European Parliament, at the behest of the Commission, are going to ban e-cigarettes. Okay, they're going to make them medicinal. At the moment, you can buy your e-cigarette over the counter. Now, e-cigarettes are proving a fantastic way of getting people off the habit of smoking. They will ensure in the long run that lives will be saved. So who do you think have pushed the Commission and lobbied the Commission to ensure that e-cigarettes are medicinal and can't be bought over the counter? Who do you think? Absolutely. The big cigarette companies do not want e-cigarettes because they don't want to see people stop smoking. 22% of people in this country smoke. Cancer is the biggest killer. Quite frankly, this is how nonsensical this whole thing is. This just proves that big business is running this organisation. You've only got to see what also happened to herbal remedies when the pharmaceutical companies lobbied the Commission to ensure that many harmless herbal remedies were taken off our shelves forever. This is an organisation which is pushed and run by big business and multinationals. And people are cottoning on to that. So not only are they making the majority of our laws, it's the cost. £53 million a day. I had a debate only yesterday on the North West Politics show, which is aired today, when they're speaking about EU funding. The point of the matter is, there is no such thing as EU funding. It's our money. We give them £53 million a day, get half back, and then we expect it to say thank you very much. And then they tell us how we can spend our own money. The whole thing is a sham, it's a con, and people are cottoning onto that. And let's not believe our Prime Minister when he talks about a referendum on this issue. A referendum which is all hypothetical, which is all about winning the next election, which it looks like they're not going to. All about a referendum after renegotiation with an organisation that doesn't negotiate. And he's already told them that he will campaign to stay in the EU, even before he's gone into renegotiation. You do not go into business and negotiate in that way. He's already sold the pass on this issue. All he is trying to do is to kick the can down the road. And what we must ensure next year, on May the 22nd, is that we turn those European elections into the referendum you should have had now in this Parliament, and we will go on and we will win. And finally, I want to make this point. Yes, those European elections are important next year, but there are more important elections on the same day. There are 5,000 council seats up in this country on May the 22nd. We must fill those seats. There is a direct correlation between where people do vote UKIP, and UKIP does well, and where we stand in local elections. If we're going to get into Westminster, and that is the key, that's what we want, because the only way we're going to get out of the EU is via Westminster, we must have local councillors first. And if we put up enough candidates next year, people will not go into the ballot box or the voting booth and vote Labour locally and UKIP in European. They will vote for the same party twice. And when our billboards are up everywhere, when UKIP leaflets are going through the door, when we have parity in terms of party political broadcasts as the other parties, people will go out and vote UKIP in their droves. And we could, if we get this right, have 1,000 councillors elected next year on May the 22nd. So if you're a member, please consider standing. Please consider putting your head above the parapet and standing for this party. If you're not a member, please think about joining this party. I believe it's the most exciting movement that's entered British politics, or British life, probably since the birth of the Labour Party. Nothing like this has come about in generations. It's exciting, it's forward-looking. Yes, we're taking the best of the last century, but we're looking forward into the 21st. So I will leave you by saying this. Continue with the hard work. Continue to write letters. Continue to deliver leaflets. Continue to hold meetings like this. Continue to speak to your friends and spread the message, because, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to be part of something very special indeed.